Yeah, we're recording here now. So, Jeremy, when you're ready, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Owen. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Jeremy.
Owen, obviously, the big story of Sunday was that Jofra Archer plays no part in the one-day series. Chris Silverwood's confident that it can be sorted without surgery and maybe with just an injection. Is that your view too?
To be honest, Jeremy, I can't give a medical opinion. Obviously, we know the situation with his elbow. It's progressively got worse, and we know that it needs investigation. So I think only time will tell. I think, duty of care is always towards the player. He's given his heart and soul to us since he's been involved. So all the care and attention will be given to him in order to try and get the best result possible.
Do you have a view on whether he should come back out to India for the IPL or rest completely?
It's all depends on the outcome of the investigative stuff that the medical team will do. They'll determine the best rehabilitation program coming back, and we'll go from there. We fully trust all of our medical team. They've been outstanding in regards to player welfare and player rehabilitation. And that trust is always there.
Chris was saying you had a team meeting about the makeup of the one-day team yesterday. Who bats it 3, Owen?
You're going to have to wait until tomorrow, Jeremy, to find that out. We have plenty of options. I think we're spoiled for choice in batters who certainly want to bat in the top 4. It's very similar to the T20 makeup. And again, throughout the one-day series, we'll see guys given opportunity more so than we did in the T20 series. So, it's going to be exciting. Playing 3 games at the same ground against a very, very strong Indian side is a huge opportunity for everybody to go out there and both get back into the frame of mind and the pace of 50-over cricket, but also guys who haven't had opportunities to really put their case forward in both formats.
How would you rate the importance of this series, Owen? Because Chris was saying yesterday, it's not a consolation prize.
No, not at all. I think given the World Cup around the corner, playing any international cricket at all is a huge opportunity for guys who have been here and been on the fringes and not made selections so far. And when you score runs or take wickets away from home, there's always a huge incentive to try and push your case forward. On top of that, obviously we have World Super League points at stake in order to qualify for the next World Cup, albeit down the line quite some time away. Obviously plans towards that are always in place.
Is it a chance, though, to use some of the guys who've been in India but not been playing? Obviously, people like Billings, Livingston and Mo, who, of course, didn't play the T20s.
Yes, absolutely. We see the 50-over format at the moment. The role is playing in between the 2 T20 World Cups as a building block for our squad. And that's not compromising performance at all. We feel as if we have an extremely strong squad outside of our final 11, regardless of the format. So certainly it'll present opportunities for guys like that.
Thanks, Owen.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Scott Taylor, please.
Hey, Owen, there was a lot of talk about this series not being the priority with the Ashes and the T20 World Cup coming up, but any series where you head into as world champions must give you a confidence booster.
Absolutely. And I think when you don't necessarily have to be ranked number 1 in the world as well, but when you're one of the top ranked teams playing against another top ranked team, there's always a lot at stake. And I think, over the years, having not been considered one of those sides, when you play against a really strong team and come out of it having been productive with runs, wickets and results, it does help build confidence and learn a lot within the team.
And what can you guys learn ahead of? I know it's not the same format as the T20, but you can still learn stuff ahead of that World Cup in October, I presume, in this format.
Absolutely. And I think building, trying to envisage where 50 over cricket is going to be in 3 years' time is quite difficult. So the challenge for us is always trying to explore and push the limits as much as we can, given the conditions. And I think in conditions that are a little bit alien to us naturally, like India, it's always nice to get out of your comfort zone and learn more about your team and your players, to try and make mistakes and learn from them.
And Chris Ropes hasn't bowled a ball since September in competitive cricket. Is there a worry that he's not played enough cricket, or is it just part of the rest and rotation policy?
Chris was actually extremely unlucky in Sri Lanka, obviously to be in close contact with Moeen when Moeen tested positive for COVID, and he had to isolate, which obviously limited his availability around selection in the test matches. And then given the amount of time he's been away, Chris's mental health becomes an absolute priority over how many overs he's bowled or when he's played games. And this was an opportunity to get Chris home to see his family and to take some time off ahead of a busy rest of the year.
And we've seen the Test series didn't go the way, the T20 series didn't go your way as well. But is this a good chance to end a tour on a high? Does that give you even more motivation to try and win this ODI series?
Not necessarily. I think, even though we didn't pick up the trophy the other day, we've learned a huge amount, and it's been an extremely productive tour so far for us in white ball cricket. And I think with the bigger picture always being the World Cup in both white ball formats, you don't always have to win every series in order to win a World Cup. You continuously need to get better. You need to be tested as a side. You need to fail in order to learn. So that involves losing, which isn't fun, but it's part of the journey.
Perfect. Thanks, Eoin.
Paul Newman, please.
Hi, Eoin. You might have touched on this already, but in World Cup year, 2020 World Cup year, is there an argument to treat these 3 games almost as extended T20 games, or at least play out T20 scenarios within them?
I don't think there's a strong enough argument for Paul. I think given that 50 over cricket has been probably as close as ever to T20, there are certain familiar scenarios that work themselves out without sort of self-simulating them as a team. There are pockets of the game that do replicate T20 cricket, and given the very limited change between both squads, guys are talented enough both to play and be skilled enough to play both formats, even though it's a World Cup year or not.
So some of these guys who will get chances in these 3 matches they can use it as an opportunity to try and plug themselves into the T20 World Cup squad, presumably.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing it as given the 2 squads are very similar, we see both skill sets as very, very valuable.
Thank you.
John Etheridge, please.
Morning, Eoin. Moeen Ali's had a tough time, as you say, starting with positive for COVID. Do you sense his frustration, or is he able to take these setbacks pretty much in his stride?
No, he certainly takes them within his stride. And I think, the little period that Mo spent at home before this series has done him the world of good. He's come back certainly refreshed and with plenty of energy. And he's a very relaxed guy who always has a reasonable perspective on life and sport and the role that it plays within society. So he's traveling really well.
And you still title white ball player for England?
Yes, I do. Side and makes our squad is extremely valuable to our side. I know he's not played, but that's been circumstantial. The pitches that we played on just have not turned, and that obviously limits the amount that a finger spinner's contribution in the game might make.
One fun thing, I should probably know this, but are there going to be crowds at these 3 games? Do you know?
No, there aren't. No crowds, John.
Andrew Miller, please.
Hi, Owen. I'm just following up on your point there about learning from losing essentially, and I'm just wondering what constitutes success for you on this leg of the tour. Is it seeing the likes of, I don't know, Reece Topley or Liam Livingston put in a performance that throws them into the World Cup mix, or is it just having a team performance that gels even if you maybe don't get the full result in the end?
I think the level of consistency that we've showed in 50 over cricket since the World Cup win has been average. Obviously, we haven't had our strongest team together for quite some time since that, given the amount of that we've played. But if in our performance show a level of consistency away from home, that'd be a huge step forward. And on top of that, grow our squad. And we see guys coming back in, like you've mentioned, taking opportunities that don't come up very often. Would give us a lot of confidence moving forward.
And just in that, I mean, obviously it was a broadly
Hello, Andrew.
Yeah.
Have another go, please.
You hear me? Sorry, I don't know what's happened there. Just asking about the consistent selection in the T20s. Was that specifically because this was the last time you're going to get your best 11 together, or was there ever a temptation to throw Moeen in particular into the mix in the middle there?
Every game that we went to, Andrew, he was considered for selection. It wasn't a matter of just having consistent playing 11 throughout the 5 games. That wasn't our intention. Our intention was to pick our best 11 to try and win every game, and it was again based on having our best 15 or 16 players available for us. So yeah, it wasn't about consistency.
Thank you.
Ali Martin, please.
Thank you. Sorry, Owen, you said you learned a lot from the T20 series. What would be the chief things that you learned there?
From the T20, sorry, Ali, is that what we said?
Yes, please. Yeah, the T20s.
Yeah. So Adil bowling in the power play has added another dimension to an area that we've struggled in the past. I think 4 out of 5 games we bowled really, really well in the power play. I think significant areas that need either improvement or revisiting are the last 4 or 5 overs, both with the ball and the bat. I feel as if our middle order didn't fire at all, and at the end our depth bowling was left a bit short.
Cool. And can I just ask? Obviously, you've sort of spoken about this series, and obviously the series in the summer being a chance for guys to push their case for the World Cup, the World T20 squad, as it were, the T20 World Cup. Do you know how big that squad is going to be? Because presumably we're sort of working on the basis that it's 15, but I'm guessing during COVID times we might see expanded squads and travelling reserves, etc. So there's probably quite a few opportunities there potentially.
Yeah, potentially. We're working on 15 at the moment. We haven't heard anything otherwise. Obviously, things can change a lot in the space of 6 months with vaccines being rolled out and stuff like that. So we're not working on any more than 15.
Cool. And are you able to tell us if Moeen plays tomorrow? Because it seems like we've been sort of wondering whether he's going to play all through the white ball leg.
I can't. No.
Brilliant. All right.
Shashwat Kumar, please.
Good afternoon, Owen.
Good afternoon.
So the last ODI that you played was back in September. Since then, you've had a couple of T20 series. So how difficult will it be for you to change the format, or is it something that you are used to as cricketers these days?
Yeah, I think you have to be used to it. You have to be very flexible in the way that you play. But like I mentioned earlier, I think the formats are much aligned as cricket goes at the moment. T20 and 50 over cricket, particularly at home in England for us. The rate at which you score and the way in which you try and restrict runs and take wickets are very similar to T20 cricket, bar the first 10 overs as a bowling mindset. So yes, we do have to change things and change our mentality and get back into the rhythm of playing 50 over cricket, but it shouldn't be a huge task.
Okay, so the Joe Root is missing from the ODI series. Of course, understandably, he's been rested given the excursions of the Test summer. So how do you expect that to change the dynamics of your top order? Can we see someone like you or Ben batting a little higher up, or how is that going to affect things?
I hope it doesn't change the dynamics too much. Obviously, losing Joe Root is obviously it leaves a massive hole for a guy who scores at a run a ball and averages 50. He's an exceptional player and has been for a long time. So we will miss him. But it's just going to be a matter of somebody slotting in at 3 and going about it in their own business.
Thank you.
Vishesh Roy, please.
Hi, Eoin. You had earlier said that you wanted to play on turning tracks to prepare better for the T20 World Cup. Would you want to play the 3 ODIs on turners, and do you expect you would get these sort of pitches?
I don't know if we'll get these sort of pitches. Historically, Pune hasn't really turned. It's normally quite a high-scoring ground, smaller than most, good outfield, and some dew in the evenings. So I'm not expecting the pitch to turn, but if it does, it'll be a really good experience for us.
And another question would be Ben Stokes played all the Test matches and T20. So was there a temptation to give him a rest in the ODI series, looking at he might play the entire IPL and then the 5 Test match series against India later this year?
Obviously, we've looked at various periods of rest for Ben, and this isn't one of them. There could be potential when we get home during the summer, again, dependent on our circumstances around biosecure bubbles and how often he's seeing his family. But given that we play 3 games in 5 days and Ben's staying on for the IPL, it would have just meant that he was staying in his room here in Pune or maybe Mumbai and sitting around. So Ben was very keen to play, so he wasn't considered.
Thanks, Eoin.
2 more questions now. Will McPherson, and then I'll be asking a question on behalf of G. Krishnan. So Will McPherson first, please.
Hi, Owen. Just on Ben, I think this is his first ODI appearance since the World Cup final. Obviously, various odd reasons for that, and but it's a bit strange. Is it? How nice is it to have him back in this format?
Yeah, it's great to have him back. Any opportunity we have to get him in a white ball game, which, like you mentioned, has been few and far between, is brilliant. I think he really enjoys his white ball cricket, and it's important to keep him engaged with that. Because obviously, if you don't play a format for a long time, it can show a bit of neglect in certain parts of the game, and we know how demanding the rest of the formats are, both on his body and his mind. So it's great to have him around.
Yeah, ODIs are often seen as some kind of in-between format, obviously longer than a T20, but shorter than a Test, but it's very specific skills that you need to keep ticking over, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably more testing as a period, obviously, throughout the day is longer than a T20, or has to repeat the skills over and over again, whereas T20 is obviously very instant and specific to what you do.
Last question from G. Krishnan. He asks, Owen, how are relations between the teams? It was a little bit feisty at the back end of the T20 series. Are relations okay?
Yeah, relations are good. I think there's a huge amount of respect between both sides. Like I mentioned after the game the other night, when games are very close and there's a lot on the line, there is a tendency for emotions potentially to boil over, which can be expected, but that's the nature of what we do. Both sides are going extremely hard at each other in trying to achieve a win or get the best out of themselves, but relations are good.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.